This is another class where I'm going to showing you a demo of another programming language. If you all remember that we have been working with computers for a very long time, many aspects of your life, right? So when you use computers at home or in the school or at any other places, even the smartphones that you're using are nothing but mini computers that are working with you, okay? But if you consider computers are supposed to be dumb instruments or devices, because as long as you do not have a program running in it, it's nothing but a piece of equipment sitting on your table. Okay, so there are certain people who write programs. Okay, earlier the programs used to be written in machine language. This was one of the earliest times that we ever used programming. But now, as language increased or as our language expanded, we started writing programs in the common English language, okay? And they're called as high-level languages. And one of the high-level languages, I'm sure you heard about Java, because when you get on the internet and you see that you cannot see a particular page, it shows at the bottom that you need a Java update. Okay? Java is one of the high-level languages. And if you look at a code, when you see a string of writings, or when you see what the program is written, it is a set of instructions. Okay, so the computer needs an instruction, and that instruction is written in a particular format. Okay, so for this course in Nova, I am supposed to be teaching or learning about C++. Okay, it is one of the high-level languages. As you see the word C++, I'm sure you must be wondering what sort of a language it is. It is a high-level language. It is something that has come from a previous language. The previous language was called C. It was in 1979. It was at Bell Labs. All you heard about AT&T, remember? These are parent companies. One of them was Bell Labs, and there was a PhD student who was researching on finding a new level language. And based upon his PhD research, he came up with a new language, and he called it C with classes. And C with classes eventually became a program which is called as C++. Alright? Now C++ is a very versatile language. It's a high-level language. And it is a very portable language. When you use the word portable, what is the meaning of the word portable? That it can be moved around, yes. Machine languages were very specific to the machine that you created. But when you talk about high-level languages, they can be moved from computer to computer. So if you run a program on Windows, you can also run simultaneously a similar program on Mac. When you do the same thing, if you go on Mac, you can also do it. So they are portable languages. They can be moved across the machines. I'm talking to you in terms of the little machines that you have seen. But when you go to universities, when you go to places of research, you will see a wide variety of machines. You will see tech machines, you will see wax machines. There will be different machines that will be there. But if you write a code in one particular language, you'll be able to take it across, so it becomes a portable language. Okay? And the code that you write, okay, it's a universal code, and it is something that can be moved from one machine to another. It may have different types of compilers, going back to what a compiler or an interpreter is. If you remember, we work with Scratch. Okay, when we wrote programs in Scratch, you had to write that entire code and then click on the green flag. So then it went and executed the whole thing, right? That it compiles. That is, it waits for you to finish writing all the commands, and then it starts moving. But if you were, which the 6th graders are working on, is called Logo. It's a program where you write one line and you click enter, and you immediately see the mouse move or the turtle move on the screen. Okay, those are called interpreter languages. They work at one line at a time, whereas programs like C++ are called compiler-based programs, and you have to write the entire code and then you execute them. Okay, now compilers are, in a way, they are created based upon what sort of programs people write. Okay, so for C++, we create what is called as an IDE. An IDE is an environment in which I can write my own C program and I can test it out too. Okay, now for this course, I'm going to teach the first program. And the first program in all programming languages is called Hello World. Okay, it's funny, yeah, because all you want to say is hi, how are you, or hello, this is me. Okay, and it's a set of code. It's like a standard 3 or 4 lines. That's all, because what it does is, even though the program is very small, it teaches you what are the components that go into writing a program. Like, if I want to write a program, what are the set of instructions? Now, the set of instructions that we use in C++ are called as keywords. Okay, keywords are something that you use only for writing a program. If you remember in Scratch, you used a forever loop. The word forever, you never typed it. It was already there because forever is a keyword. Move X and move Y, if you remember, the word move, X and Y are standard keywords that are already present in the language. Similar to that, C++ will also have a keyword or many several keywords, and these keywords actually come under a standardized format. Okay, there's an organization called ISO. ISO actually standardized, give it a a place where you can actually say, okay, this is the format that you can use. Everybody wants to create their own language, but it has to be regulated. Okay, so ISO in 1978 came up with a set of regulations. It took several companies to work with, and they actually came up with the standards that people would use. The last standardization was done in 2011, last year, okay, and it is called a C++ version 11. All right. Now, in order for you to write a program in C++, what should you have? You need an IDE. I told you about an IDE, right? Now, this IDE is something that you can download, and C++ is such a unique language, or such a creative language, that you can download different types of IDE. You can modify the code a little bit in each of the IDE, and then you can still use your same program. All you're going to do is just write the code in a slightly different manner, but they will all format and they will all come out in the same output. Okay. Now, there's a company. The company's name is called Bloodshed Software, and Bloodshed Software actually hosts the IDE, the beta version, and the IDE is called as DevC. Okay, plus beta version of, and how you download, because even before you write something, you need a download, so you need a program. Okay, so just pay attention. This will show you what exactly are the steps that you would need in order for you to download. You're going to look on the side. It will show you DevC++. It's a resource site. It gives you what are the features, what can you download, what are the requirements. This is very important, because if you have a computer which does not meet the requirements, and there's no point in downloading it. Yes? Okay? So it helps you, but it says that it's a very simple machine. All it needs is just Windows 95 and 32 MB of RAM. Alright? And it's a free licensed software, which means that anybody can download it, okay, and it can port it on any number of machines. Alright? Now, download, it says from one particular site. Okay, once you click on the download, it tells you that you need to download it. Okay? Many computers, if you have any of this, you have a firewall, it will tell you, it will prevent you from downloading. You click on the download file. I'm going to run it right from the site. You can also download the actual compiler onto your, or the IDE onto your computer. That's the file. Doesn't take a long time. Usually something that runs within about, it says, welcome to Dev++ install. Do not install this version if a previous version is. I'm sure you've come across this when you have a previous version and you try to install something on top of it. If you have not prevented the original version from working on, when you actually work on the program, you're going to see a lot of errors. Okay? So the usual method would be uninstall the previous program and then get to the next version. Alright? It asks you to select the language is English. Asks you to agree to a license. I'm sure you've seen this all the time. And there's plenty of small print. Yes? Okay, somebody who has all the time in the world will go through all of them. And here is where you can actually choose your components. For this particular case, I'm going to choose all the components because I want to show you all the features. Okay? And if you look at the components, they show example files, help files, icon files. There are different components that you can actually put through. You install the location. Okay? It's asking you where the location would be. Would you want it to be on your My Documents or whichever way? You can actually specify where on your computer you're going to download. The execution is pretty simple. The extraction is very quick. Okay? Do you want to install for all users on the computer? Yes. Okay, so if you have more than one user on the computer, you can install it for all of them. This is beta version 9 C++ Dev 5. Okay, beta meaning that it hasn't been what? Hasn't been fully tested, but it is ready and it is out there. Alright? It says over here, please report the bugs. It's telling you that it's a beta version, okay? Which means that there will be probably some bugs in some of the programs that you write. If there is one, you can actually always go back to the website, alright? And if this is for the first time you're going to settle, it will ask you, do you want to launch it? There are different features. You can create a cache, which is a temporary storage location. going to wait for the installation. Once it's installed, it will show you what exactly is being installed on the computer. If you remember when we had done the scratch, we had to download the file, the zip file, and then we had to unzip it or extract everything. Then we had to look for an exe file, right? Only the exe file would be the one that would install the scratch program, right? So similar to that, when you do this for C++, when you do Dev C, the first programs, and what it does is it extracts and it gives you all the features. Now, if you're an advanced programmer, you can pick and choose what feature you want. A beginner programmer has no choice, because it might not make any sense to you when you download. It's like, oh, do I really need this file or I don't need the file? You're better off downloading everything. Okay, so we'll just wait until the installation is complete, and once the installation is complete, we can see how the feature opens up. Okay, and I want to tell you something about the Hello World too. It's got just one statement onto it. Same thing, if you have seen, there are always tips available. Okay. And this is what you're looking at is called as your IDE. Okay, your IDE is similar to your. What screen do you think this is very similar to? Something that you use quite often in your computers. Yes. Yeah, Microsoft Word. Okay. See, when you open a Microsoft Word, you always see File, Edit, yes, View. These are certain components that are always there. They're standard menu bars that always will be there. Okay. So when you write a program in C++, what are you actually going to do? You're actually going to use it very similar to your Word component. Okay. So you're going to start off a new file, and you're going to create a file, and you're going to write the code into it. Okay. So I will show you how I'm going to write a code which says Hello World. Okay. Start off with a new file. On the top you will see new file, just like your Microsoft Word. You're going to see new, and there are two terms to it. One is called as a source file. A source file is where the actual code, or where you will write the code components for it. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you a file that I have already previously written, so you can take a look at what the code will look like. I'm also going to type in the code so you can actually see what the new statements are that you would write for the Hello World. Okay. When I open up a new file, you will see that there is a cursor blinking at the top. Okay. Now, a good programming technique would be to use comments on your code. Let me say I wrote a bunch of lines for you, and you had no clue what the program was about. Okay. It is very hard for a novice programmer to go and find out what exactly the programmer or what somebody else has written a program for. Let's say that you started off programming in C++ and you went ahead in time. Okay. When you come back 6 months later and look back at your code, would you be able to figure out what you have written in that particular code? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. If you cannot remember what happened 3 months ago or 6 months ago, it is very difficult. So you write comments, and these comments are very important for you. When you write, you can always tell where exactly you have, what is the kind of comment that you're going to make. So my comment would be, the first line would be, this is my first demo program. Okay, but there's a certain format in which you write a comment. Okay, there are different companies, they have different formats in which you write. You have to write the name of the person who wrote the code. You have to write the date at which you wrote the code, and if this particular code has some special feature. In today's program, I'm going to show you, I'm going to use Hello World. So my special feature would be Hello World. But if I were writing a very complex program, I would have to tell you in detail that this particular program writes comments or writes about this many number of statements, and this program shows you how to use this particular code. Okay, so when you're writing on it, you have to make the comments, and comments are very, very important because comments help you go back in time, and also when you go forward and when you're using the same module over. Okay, it's called a module. When you write small programs, they're called as modules.